Miami Heat season officially starts tomorrow, so I'm going to give you 5 bold takes that I think can actually happen going into this season. Now, the first one isn't that exciting, but keep in mind, this is the 6th year with this core, so I think we kind of know mostly everything about this team, but then again, we really don't, because we've had years where we got our ass kicked in the first round and years where we made the NBA Finals, so who knows? Anyways, my very first prediction is that Quinn will not finish the season on the Miami Heat's coaching staff. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that he's going to get fired, but I do believe this is finally the season in which he gets a head coaching job on another team. He's been interviewed several times in the past, just this past offseason. I believe he was interviewed by Memphis and he was interviewed by the Lakers before they hired JJ Redick, which is ridiculous because the buddy has a podcast. They think he's qualified to be a head coach. That team's not going to be that good. It's a shame you got guys like Quinn who've been doing this for such a long time and have the experience, but they don't have the name like JJ Redick, so they can't get a job. I just think it's ridiculous. Quinn is one of the best assistant coaches in the game and deserves a head coaching spot over probably half the guys that currently do have a head coaching job in the league right now. Now, which teams could he possibly get the job for? I don't know, because I started looking through a lot of the bad teams that you think are more likely to fire their head coach, and most of them already have new coaches. For example, the Hornets just hired Charles Lee. That was the Celtics' former assistant. The Pistons have just hired JB Biggerstaff, who obviously was passed around the league a little bit before. So most of the bad teams have their new guy. You got a guy like Chauncey Billups in Portland, but he hasn't been there all that long. Would they really let go of him? I don't know. The Wizards got a new guy. The Raptors got a guy who's been decent. So I don't really know what team it could possibly be. The option that I think is maybe the most likely is the New Orleans Pelicans, just because I think they have a very talented roster, but because the West is so stacked, I'm not even sure they'll be above like 12th in the Western Conference. I did my standings prediction video a couple weeks ago now, and I think that's where I had them, was 12th, which to this day, it doesn't sit right with me, because you think about that roster. DeJounte Murray, you got obviously Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram. We don't know what their situation is there, but you got Trey Murphy Jr., who just signed his extension, Herb Jones, one of the best defenders in the league, CJ McCollum, I didn't even mention, one of the most prolific scorers, one of the best players to never make an all-star team. Like, they have a pretty stacked roster. But when I started looking up and down the list, I couldn't find what team I would put below them. I really couldn't. So by default, I kind of gave them the lowest spot of the good teams, just because they got a little bit up in the air with Brandon Ingram. So we don't know what's going to happen there. So obviously that team has potential, but if they don't show out, I could see them maybe letting go of Willie Green, who hasn't been there that long either. He's only been there like 3 years or so, but I could see them maybe moving on from him, and that could be a potential spot for Quinn. And if not there, maybe there's a surprise firing somewhere in the middle of the season, because we do seem to find that all the time. Now, as far as the Heat, they would probably replace him with a guy like Eric Glass, who has some head coaching experience with the Sioux Falls Skyforce. Maybe they go with Octavio de la Granja. I don't know. I tried throwing a little Cuban flair on it, because Octavio's a legend, man. Cuban legend. He's been with the team over a decade now, so he probably has the most experience of guys currently on the coaching staff to get that head assistant, because I should mention Quinn was the lead assistant. So I do think it'll be one of those two guys, because then the rest of the Heat assistant staff right now, it's former players like Malik Allen, Caron Butler, Wayne Ellington. So I think they let those guys kind of marinate a little bit, learn a little bit more, and then maybe their time to be a head coach can come, later down the line in the future. But that's my first bold take, is that Quinn isn't on the Heat coaching staff by the end of the season. My second bold take is that Pelle Larsson outshines Kel'el Ware this season. Now, obviously, the reason that's a bold take is because, one, Kel'el Ware was the first round pick. Pelle was taken in the second round. So logically, you'd think that the first round pick will get more coverage, unless you're the Lakers, because Dalton Connect's popping off, but all ESPN talks about is Bronny, but I digress from that. But anyways, two, it is a bit of a bold take, just because Kel'el Ware provides something that this team doesn't have outside of him, which is size, being 7 feet tall, because right now our center of rotation is like Bam Adebayo, who's 6'9", Kevin Love, who's 6'9", Thomas Bryant's like 6'10", so you would think they could use Kel'el Ware, But just because he is a rookie, I mean, he's technically not a one and done. He did go to college for 2 years, but he didn't get too much experience his first year at Oregon. But anyways, he's still young because he's 20 years old compared to Pelle Larsson, who's probably like, what, 20, 22? He might even be 23. I don't know. He's not that much older, but does have a few more years of experience in college. And just from watching the Summer League and the preseason, it is clear that Pelle Larsson is a more ready-now player. And although Kel'el Ware provides something that we don't have in anyone else, he doesn't bring too much to the table at this point other than his size and athleticism, which will probably make him an okay rebounder right away and a lob threat, right? But that's kind of where it stands right now. Obviously, he can extend the floor a little bit, but I don't think he would be used that way in the Heat offense. Where a guy like Pelle Larsson, what have I been saying for the last couple months now? I hope I'm not annoying y'all with it, but I'm saying Pelle Larsson is already good at a little bit of everything. That's why I'm so high on him, because he has the potential to be great at everything. We saw in the Summer League he played point guard at times. He was a very good facilitator. Not just being able to bring the ball up the court, but he was legitimately running an offense and had great vision, finding guys back door. Processed the game very well. You know, not Isaiah Stevens well, but we've talked about him enough in the last couple games. Now that Stevens is not on the team, I won't talk about him no more. I promise. I know some people are annoyed with that. But we have seen Pelle Larsson run the offense a little bit. He's been very good at that. As far as a shooter, he has been very, very good at shooting the basketball. He's very reliable in that regard. Defensively, we've seen him hold his own, guarding ones, twos, threes. I really think he can guard 3 positions there. He has the athleticism and the size and the strength to do so. So he's just much more versatile in that regard. So if there was a night where Terry Rozier or Tyler Herro are out, you could slide in Pelle Larsson at that guard spot. If there was a night that Jaime Jaquez was out and you need to bring a little bit of more scoring off the bench, I think Pelle Larsson can come in. If there was a night where Haywood Highsmith is out. Now, I know Haywood plays the 4, but I think Pelle Larsson can provide some similar things as far as the 3 and D, although Pelle is obviously better with the ball in his hand. But for all those reasons, that's kind of why I think Pelle Larsson will outshine Kel'el Ware this year. I'm not sure either guy will play too much just because they are such a deep team. I posted my rotation video yesterday, and the 4 guys that I predict to get substantial minutes coming off the bench is Kevin Love as your backup center, Jaime Jaquez as your backup forward, and then, of course, Duncan Robinson and Haywood Highsmith. That's kind of your offensive defense right there. So that's a 9-deep rotation right there. Spo might go 10 deep for certain games, and that's where some of these young guys could start to come in. But there's more than just them too, right? You got Alec Burks, you got Josh Richardson when he's healthy. So I'm not sure either guy will play too much, but I do think Pelle Larsson will have a substantially bigger role than Kel'el Ware this year. And that will annoy Heat fans, because every game that we see Kevin Love check in, every game we see Thomas Bryant maybe check in, Heat fans aren't going to like it. But just trust the process. If Kel'el Ware doesn't make an immediate impact right away, he very well could later in the season and next season, certainly. My third bold prediction is related to another young guy. And I think my boy Keshad Johnson is going to have a monster impact for this team. Specifically, I said he's going to play 50-plus games. Now, that is a very bold take, because as a two-way player, you're technically only allowed to be active for 50 games. Not even play 50 games. You can only be active, meaning practicing with the team, sitting on the bench, that sort of thing. So I do believe that he will play 50 games plus, because if he is active for the first 50 practice/game days, that does take us into mid-January. And by then, the Heat would be allowed to sign him while still remaining under the second apron. That's something that I've talked about a lot, and I do think it could happen. Now, I am a little bit contradicting myself here, because I didn't have him as a part of the rotation in the last video that I did, but I don't think he'll be, a guy who will get 15 minutes a night in the rotation. He won't have a substantial part, but I do think he will get his spot minutes every other game, every few games, just to sort of provide that defensive punch and get him that experience. Because if there's one thing that he can do right now, it's play defense. And if you could play defense, Spoelstra will find a way to get you on the court. Now, Kel'el Ware can also play defense, but it's in a little bit of a different regard. He's more of a shot blocker that likes to roam around in the paint, where Keshad Johnson is a beautiful tool that Spoelstra can use in his system to say, hey, go guard the 1, then go guard the 3, and then go guard the 4. And then when they set a pick, switch, and now guard everyone on the court. And that's something that Spo will have a lot of fun with, is just having a guy with the defensive tools like Keshad Johnson. And he has shown the ability, mostly in the summer league. He was okay at it in the preseason, but he's shown an ability to shoot the ball, stretch the floor. He does have that corner three-pointer down, and obviously his athleticism makes him a crazy threat in the fast break. So for all those reasons, specifically the defense, I think Spoelstra will find opportunities to get him minutes. They probably won't be substantial at first, maybe just a few minutes a game here and there, but by the end of the season, I do think he could be a legitimate part of the rotation. Who gets less minutes by that point, I don't know. Maybe it's less Kevin Love, and then you slide Keshad as kind of that backup 4. Then you wouldn't really have a backup big. I understand that, but we'll see. It'll be really interesting to see how well the Heat rebound this year, because if it's not well, you're going to have to find a way to get Kel'el Ware minutes. You really do. But for now, I'm very positive on Keshad Johnson. And if this was a bold take video for the next 5 years, I already stated my claim. I think Keshad Johnson will be an all-star. I think he will be better than Mikal Bridges one day, for all this stuff, of course. Not this year, but one day. Anyways, my fourth and actually fifth bold take, but we'll start with the fourth, are ones that I actually said in last year's bold take video. But I want to bring them up again because I think they potentially are more likely to happen because they didn't last year. The first one is Tyler Herro making the All-Star team. Of course, I said that last year, and it wasn't even close. Tyler Herro couldn't stay healthy, played like 40 games, and it didn't work out well. I do believe Tyler Herro will stay healthy this year, if not for the law of averages. He's had some bad freak injuries over the last couple years. If there's a such thing as freak injuries, I don't know. I think all injuries are freak injuries, but don't tell Chris Middleton that. He just thinks he's unlucky. But anyways, Tyler Herro, by the law of averages, you would think he'd have to play way more games than he has the last couple years. And if that's the case, I do think he'll be the Heat's leading scorer once again, which he has been the last couple seasons. Now, the only issue here is that if the Heat are playing well, that likely means that Jimmy Butler's playing well. I think Bam is a lock to make the All-Star team. He's been on it the last few years where Jimmy hasn't. But if the Heat are playing well and they get a second All-Star, most people would think it's Jimmy Butler. The reason I think Tyler Herro might have a chance to get it over Jimmy is just because he will be the team's leading scorer, and I could see Jimmy coming up with a fake injury come mid-February saying, oh, no, I can't play. I got a sore fingernail. Replace me with another Heat player in Tyler Herro because we deserve 2 All-Stars. You could see some sort of thing like that. But the All-Star is a heavily driven statistical thing as far as when it comes to voting. And if Tyler Herro gets you the points, and he's been an improved playmaker, so if he gets you the assist, I think he will have some numbers that could jump out at you. And again, it's going to be all come down to the Heat's record. I had the Heat at 6 in my official prediction video, but if come All-Star break, they'd probably need to be a little bit higher to get 2 All-Stars, which I could also see. Again, I could see them finishing anywhere from 3 to 6, or probably even 3 to 8. Who knows? We've seen such a varying degree with this Heat roster over the last 6 years. I don't know. But they would probably have to finish at least top 3 to get 2 All-Stars. Again, unless you're the Lakers. They were 6 last year, got 2 All-Stars. Make it make sense. I don't know. But if the Heat are playing well, I do think that Tyler Herro can get in there. The scoring might not be as high as he needs for that because you got Terry Rozier for a full season now too, but we'll see what happens. I am very confident in saying that Tyler Herro will lead the team in scoring, but will it be enough to get an All-Star break? I don't know. That's why it's a bold take. My 5th and final bold prediction for the season is, again, another one I said last year, which is the Miami Heat will win the 2024-2025 NBA championship. And let me tell you why. Because if you look at the course of this Heat team, you got 2020, went to the NBA Finals, Goran gets hurt, Bam gets hurt, they lose in the Finals. Go to the next year, shortest offseason in NBA history, all 4 teams that made the conference finals the year before, Lakers, Nuggets, Celtics, Heat, they all got their ass kicked in the first round. That 2021 season was a fluke. And Bryn Forbes out there now lighting up Jimmy Butler. You know what Bryn Forbes is up to nowadays? He's in jail. He really is. Or at least he was arrested. You can look up his mugshot online. But anyways, that 2021 season was a fluke. You go into 2022, the Heat got the best record in the NBA. Everyone's healthy. They go into the playoffs. They're in the conference finals versus Boston. Tyler Herro gets banged up, not able to play. PJ Tucker's banged up, so they deal with some more injuries. And then they're not able to. Victor Oladipo, too. Let's not forget him dealing with injuries all season, that year and the next year. They lose in Game 7. Of course, 2023, you still have the injuries with Depot. Tyler Herro breaks his wrist in the first game. You still make the NBA Finals, but you fall just short. Then you go the following season. Obviously, Terry Rozier's neck hurts. Duncan Robinson's back hurts. And you had no Jimmy Butler because Kelly Oubre took him out. The Heat have been the most injured team with regards to games missed over the last couple seasons, outside of guys like the Grizzlies who had Ja Morant, who missed entire seasons. But if you count guys who just missed, for normal injuries, the Heat have been leading in that the last couple seasons. Again, by the law of averages, they have to at some point get healthy. And I think that's this season. And what we've seen with this core is that when healthy, they are one of the best teams in the league. And everyone wants to say that, all these other teams got better. The Sixers got Paul George, who is the biggest playoff choker in the league. They do not scare me. The Boston Celtics brought their whole core back. They don't got that dog in them. They're going to have championship fatigue like we've never seen before. I don't trust that team. The New York Knicks got Karl Anthony Towns, who's soft as baby bleep. And Mikal Bridges, who can't shoot anymore. His form looks like this. What the hell is that? Not to mention that Tom Thibodeau runs his players into the ground. So come postseason, those guys will not be ready. Because if you want to talk about injury history, I give you OG Anunoby. I give you Karl Anthony Towns. That team is not going to last an entire season. Not to mention that chemistry matters. You've had a core that's been together for 6 years with regards to Jimmy, Tyler, and Bam. And I think all that stuff will go a long way. Not to mention you have the best damn coach in the NBA. And for that reason, I am officially declaring that the Miami Heat will be NBA champions. And anytime that I've disagreed with myself over the last course of the month or so, where I might have said they're not, disregard all that, because right now I'm staking my claim the Heat will be NBA champions. That's my official prediction. We'll say Heat over Knicks in the conference finals, and then we'll say OKC over, who we going to go with? OKC over Dallas in the Western Conference Finals, then Heat over OKC in 5. Repeat of 2012, baby. Mike Miller, shout out to you, baby. That's all I got to say for this video. Let me know down below which one of my bold takes you think is the most realistic, and to be sure to give me some of your own bold takes. I actually posted a video about a week ago reacting to y'all bold takes, so make sure y'all go check that out too. Anyways, like the video and subscribe. All that good stuff is greatly appreciated. I'm so excited Heat basketball is back. So I'll see y'all with the next video, which is gonna be a post game, real basketball post game. Let's get it. Peace out, y'all.
Look, pull up in your city, tryna get that dead face. Do it on my own, I don't need no dead weight. Had to kill him off, yeah, I need a head space. You know this homegrown bitch don't offend me.